So I wanted to talk a little bit about the interplay between the non-physical and the physical, because a lot of times I'm having questions in my mind. What do I need to do? And Neville Goddard constantly says, you don't do anything. You just think it and you get emotional about it and you send that frequency out and then you do nothing. He just says, hey, once you're pregnant, there's not anything else to do except for wait for the birth of the child, the creation, the whatever. Now, I've seen that happen many times where I just thought about it and then almost instantly it shows up. And then I thought about it, and sometimes it takes, days, weeks, months, even a year to show up or longer. But I also wanted to recognize that there's also can be a really nice interplay between the physical, non-physical, following the path to the solution, to the resolution of the thought, the desire. And, that is also quite satisfying. So I wanted to give that example of the physical interplay between the non-physical and the physical. And so here's an example. So back about 15 years ago, really, I was watching some television because I was in between. I was just thinking, okay, what am I going to do next, And I'm watching the Travel Channel, and this lady comes on, Samantha Brown, and she's in Italy or something, and she's staying at this fabulous place, eating fabulous food, traveling around, seeing different, cultures and languages and all this. It said, wow. I'm sitting there thinking, wow, this sounds like my dream job, So then I said out loud, and I pointed to the TV, and I said, Samantha, you have my job. And, which is kind of like a declaration. It's a decision almost. It's like, yeah, I want to do that, So now I could have sat back and waited for that serendipity to show up. In this particular point, I really hadn't made as many connections as I have now. So back then, I really wasn't thinking about law of attraction or anything. I was just thinking, okay, what would I do next? And so I stood up and I said, well, let me get online and find out what I can do to make this a creation. So back then, meetup groups was a big thing. This was like 12 BC. So that's 12 years before COVID, so 12 BC. And so there was really a such thing as people would actually go meet people and at meetup groups and networking groups and not be concerned about germs and phobias and stuff. So I did that. I typed in, micro budget or mini budget, make a film, and this thing shows up, North Georgia Micro Budget Filmmakers Group. I said, oh yeah, that sounds perfect. So I click on that and I find the guy's number that organized it. I called him and he said, okay, I get it. So you want to make some travel videos? I said, yeah. And he said, okay, write it up and post it on the discussion tab. So I said, okay. So I did that. And he said, and also come to the next meeting. So I did that. I went to the next meeting. I posted it, went to the meeting, I walked in. And in the meantime, I've been going down the list of them, the things I need to make this happen. So the first thing, and I'm not sure why I thought of this, but the first thing I thought of was a still photographer. I wanted to have some still shots mixed in with the video. So I said, all right, I need a still photographer. I need a sound guy. Obviously, I need a cameraman and I need a camera. I need a director. And then I said, I'm going to be the producer. I'm going to bring all these elements together, go find the locations, get the locations to say, yeah, we want a video. I'm going to do all that as a producer. And I said, I'm going to be the writer, which means I'll put the script together for the interview and the people, and then I'll be the host because that's what Samantha was doing. So I'm obviously said, okay, I'm going to take on a lot more jobs than I imagine that she's doing. But that's what I wanted to do. My degree is in journalism, radio, TV, film. So I felt like I knew, enough to do that. So I walk into this meeting, and first thing, this guy over there says, "Are you the guy that posted the discussion about making travel videos?" And he didn't say it that way. He actually said, "Aren't you the guy that did that?" I mean, I've never seen this guy before. He's never seen me. But I walk in, and I guess I'm a new face. And he said, "Aren't you the guy that did this?" I said, "Yes, I am, as a matter of fact." He said, "I do still photography. Here's my card. If you can use me, I'm available." I said, "Great, fantastic." And then there's a guy over there. He said, "Hey, here's my card. I do sound." And then over there, there's this other guy that says, and he's actually the organizer. He says, "I have a camera that you can use, and I'll come up and we'll do the camera thing. And by the way, I would like to direct this." And now I'd kind of said I wanted to be the director, but I was on the fence about that. So eventually I made the decision to let him direct and bring the camera. And that was pretty much all I had thought about, which is video, still photography, sound, direction, production, and PA, which was, personal assistant to the director. I had thought about that, but the director over here says he's going to bring his own PA. I said, okay, great. So here's what I noticed afterwards. The order that I thought of these things, which was still photography, which is a little weird for video, sound, and then video. Normally you'd say, well, I need a camera, a video camera. And then you need sound, and then, okay, yeah, then I probably needed some still. No, but here's what happened. These things showed up in the exact order that I had thought of them in. I said, that is really weird, or is it? And I don't think it's weird now that I'm looking back. I think it's the way it works, Now, here's the other thing that I did not think about. I didn't think about lighting. I didn't think about lighting, so guess what? We didn't have any lighting. Now, but in a way we sort of did, because the still photographer thought about not so much lighting, but he had a reflector thing. So we ended up using that. It didn't really have the lighting that we needed for these videos. So all that to, pulled all these elements together, and man, just like that. And I did very little to make that happen. So the next thing is, I need location, and I need, what are we going to do? So here in Georgia, I'm in Atlanta, about 2 hours north is a little town called Helen. And it's kind of a touristy thing, and everything's made up to look like Switzerland. So it's like a little alpine village in the mountains of North Georgia. So I roll up there. I started walking around to some locations, and I hit about 10 or 12 of them, and I get 5 that say, yeah, let's do it. And kind of between them and me, I picked out 5 locations. I was trying to get 9 in a day, which is insane. That was impossible. So we end up shooting 5. So I get the crew together. We all drive up there, and so we start doing this production. And I said, we're going to start over here, and then we're going to go this one, this one, this one. And then I had all this lined up, and I'd made phone calls ahead of time, make sure everything was done. So we started doing the locations, and An editor was the other thing, and I had an editor lined up, and from the original meeting at the meetup group. Now, the cool thing about this editor was he worked for TBS, Turner Broadcasting Systems. Now, he was in the middle of this, and so he said, listen, I'm going to come up and help you, and I'm going to bring another camera. So I had two cameras, and he was the best guy in the whole group for sure. He knew he's a professional. He really knew what he was doing. And so he really helped bring all of this together because he could see things from the video that he could use and then edit it in a way that it would make it look really nice. And so he sort of took over some direction from the director who was, he was okay. So, and I wasn't doing any directing. And honestly, I was a fair host. And by the way, at the end of it, he said, Steve, you probably need to bring up your game, maybe the next time we do this and do a better job at the scripting and the hosting. And I said, you're right, I do. But this was my first time out and doing it the way that I had imagined it. And I got so much more out of the understanding of the video and all, not the video, but the spiritual way things worked than actually doing the videos and all that. That was great. It was great fun. At the end of it all, I said, this is too much work. If I'm going to do all this traveling, I'd like to just be on vacation, So this was the first and the last production. And by the way, if you want to see them, they are on YouTube. It's called The Inspired Traveler. And if you search Inspired Traveler, Helen, Georgia, Helen, Helen, Georgia, you will see them. There's four videos that we actually ended up producing out of all of the shots. We shot 5 locations. We actually shot 6, but I cut one out. I said, I don't want to do this one. And then the 5th one, we didn't really have enough good footage to have anything that was worthwhile. So we ended up with 4. And that is the North Georgia Barbecue, the Bavarian Inn Restaurant, the Tarantula Museum, and the glass blowing place, which is, obviously a glass blowing retail operation up there. And so those are the 4 that we ended up with. And you can see those on YouTube now. So anyway, the editor was fantastic. And so we ended up coming back. I went over to watch. Really, I was watching. He was asking me stuff, and he already knew the answer. And we were doing the editing, and they came out fantastic. So you can absolutely think of things, charge those things emotionally, get into the theta, which we've talked about many times. Neville Goddard talks about it, the twilight zone right before you go to sleep. Yes, do all that and then do nothing. Or you can participate this way. Neville Goddard is, just do that. Now, Bashar has said what you do is you follow the breadcrumbs. Same thing with Florence Scovel Shinn. She says, follow the clues that come in from the universe, the whispers from eternity, as Paramahansa Yogananda says in his book, Whispers from Eternity. Okay. And there's just so much there that people don't realize. They're utilizing it, whether they know it or not. But if you're consciously aware of it, you'll get so much more mileage out of the serendipity, the whispers, the physical taking of the action, because that's where the fun is. We chose to be here in the physical. And what I want to do a lot of times is I want to be all mental about it and just say, okay, let's just think it and then watch for it. And that's fun too, but it's also part of the excitement, the thrill, the passion to jump in and get involved. As Woody Allen has said, 80% of success is showing up. All right, show up. But what's the other 20? Well, the other 20 is make a decision. If you think there's action needed or involved, or you want to do that, get up, get up physically, take the action, show up, as Woody Allen says, and then watch as things show up. Notice, wow, they came in the order that I thought they would. Not so much that I thought they would, but more so in the order that I thought of them. And just work the process. Now, the only other thing I want to say about all of what I just said was focus on what you want and not what you don't want. And all of this was about things that I wanted. Don't get caught up in, oh crap, this, I don't have any lighting, whatever. Then all your action and all that will just be, it's all about no lighting, and then that really won't work. So I said, well, I don't have any lighting, but we do have this reflector thing and we use the heck out of that. And it worked out. Could it be better? Yeah. But I learned something from that. Next time I do a travel video, which may be never, but you never know. I might get inspired again and call it, maybe something like the Inspired Traveler. Oh, that's a good idea. I already used it. But I learned something, and that's, at least 50% of the whole operation. In other words, if something goes awry from your perspective, it's only from your perspective. It's not from the universe's perspective. It's everything's going perfect because it's going to teach you something. And so just accept it that way and say, oh, wow, this didn't go well. Or wait a minute, it went really good because now I know what to expect if I don't do this. So all of that is to say, focus on what you want, take the action if you feel like it. It's your choice. All of it's your choice. None of it is over until you say it's over. None of it is over until you say it's over, because every single moment is a whole brand new universe. This is a brand new you right now than it was when I started that sentence. Before I finished the end of it, everything is brand new, totally different. So the only thing that kind of makes it look the same is our interpretation of the reflection that we're sending out. So if we change that right there, here, we change that, bam, things change in front of our eyes. Instantly, the bigger the change, the easier it is to see, the bigger the difference. But if we change it incrementally, very little, then it's hard to see those massive changes that are actually happening, behind the scenes. So the reason I veered off into that sojourn for a second was because I wanted to unleash the leashes. I want to take the leashes off of your imagination so that you say, oh, wow, anything is possible. And I don't have to go minutely from here to here. I can change from here to there, over there, way, way, way over there. And then all you do is you pull in the memories where you did miraculous things, and you say, that's the way it works. And you discount the memories where you didn't do what you thought was miraculous things, but they were miraculous, just not in the direction you wanted them to be in. So you pull in those good miraculous things, and then you say, okay, here's the next desire. And it appears to be out of reach. And the reason I'm doing this video is I always have stuff like that, and I'm reminding myself, well, it's only out of reach until it's not. And it's out of reach mentally, but not, maybe mentally it's not out of reach. So it's just all ideas. We're just vibration. We're just frequency. We're just consciousness in this sea of vibration and energy and consciousness, which is the reason that we can change anything and everything quickly and actually easily, as long as we believe it and allow it. So that was fun for me. I hope it was fun for you. I hope you listened to the whole thing. By the way, I do consulting, and I've got a link in there for that, $48 for a half an hour. You'll be amazed. If you do that, you'll be amazed at what you get out of it. And also, there's a link in there for a couple of books on Amazon called 50 Belief Ideas. One's $10, one's $20. They're cheaper if you do the Kindle version. If you get one good idea out of that, it'll be worth way more than the paltry sum that you might be paying. Have a fantastic life of peace.